Hey, what's up there? This is Cody the Coin Raptor, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the recent moves with Bitcoin, the fact that it's gone up and touched 30K, and what that really means in the long term for the Bitcoin price. But before we get to that, be sure to hit that subscribe button, be sure to like, and then also follow me on X and Threads as well. So Bitcoin, as I said earlier, actually went up and touched 30K. You guys remember that I made a video on Thursday about the possibility of Bitcoin going up and touching 30K, which I said was definitely very possible. And we actually have seen that in the past couple of days. And the last week, Bitcoin is up almost 10% or so. It was actually up more than that, but it came back down again and has found itself a strong support level. If we take a look at the chart TA, we have the chart that I put together on Thursday, and we can see here that Bitcoin clearly pushed itself out of the uptrend channel that we had here. And now you'll notice that that 30K resistance point becomes even more important than for now than we had previously anticipated, because right now we're looking for Bitcoin to push out past that point and then eventually move on past 31 and a half up to 32,000. Okay, so Bitcoin right now, we're starting to see a reversal in the short term with the Bitcoin price. And now what we need to see is a confirmation of a breakout above 30K, and that would leave no room in doubt that Bitcoin is heading much, much higher. That being said, Bitcoin is also at RSI, the daily RSI, at about 72. So right now it is overbought currently. So what I think is going to wind up happening with Bitcoin is we're probably going to wind up seeing a little bit of sideways action, some sideways consolidation before Bitcoin tries to make another move much higher. And the reason for that is because as Bitcoin becomes more and more overbought, especially over that RSI level above 70 is overbought, we do tend to lose a little bit of buying momentum, and that does tend to translate into sideways or maybe even selling. Now, I'm not really concerned whatsoever about it selling, but what we're looking for right now is for it to maintain a really solid support level here at about, let's call it about 29K. It needs to hold in this 29K support level. And if it does, then I do think that we're going to be able to push past 30 and move even higher after that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is what happened in the futures market. So, again, on Thursday, we talked about this huge amount of shorts coming into the market. Okay, so shorts piled up here, they piled up here, they piled up here. They came in, especially at about that 29,200 level. And then as soon as they reached a kind of a breaking point, they were immediately liquidated. Okay, so they were liquidated. All these shorts that showed up here, they got completely liquidated. We had a short squeeze, and that pushed Bitcoin all the way up to about 30,100. And we can see down here on our liquidation, our short liquidation levels. We zoom in here a little bit. We can see a large amount of short liquidations happening in the futures market. So, as a recap, Thursday we said that the traders were positioning themselves short, and that could potentially become a fuel for a rally, and that's in fact what happened, and we saw fuel for a big old rally. And now longs are dominant once again. Okay, so anytime you see a large short position like that enter, then there's always a possibility you get a short squeeze, and on the other side, there's always a possibility that you get a long capitulation if we see a large number of longs enter into the market and we have bad news or black swan event or something. We could see huge losses on the other side. Now, speaking of which, we move over to our heat map, and what we've seen on the heat map here is there's not really much liquidity in between at about 30,000 and about 30,400. That's where the largest amount of liquidity right now is on the upside here, about 30,000 going all the way up to 30,400 going all the way up to about 30,500, and maybe just a little bit higher than that, about 30,600. That's where the most of the liquidity right now currently rests. And on the other side, on the downside, we're looking at 29,600, and then below that, a larger liquidity pool here at about 29,200. So what we're starting to see is a migration of liquidity going instead from the the bullish side, more towards the bearish side. We're actually starting to see more of liquidity that's actually much lower than the Bitcoin prices right now. And I do think that may be a risk in the future, especially as the price does tend to get attracted to these liquidity levels. And the simple fact is right now that there's a larger amount that's below the current Bitcoin price, and especially below 29,600, and then below that about 29K or so. It is entirely possible that we get just a little bit of negative news or some sort of selling pressure that we'll see a cascading effect and it'll push it back down to 29K. That is always a possibility. So I just want to, keep you guys appraised of the situation and realize that even though Bitcoin is really strong right now, there are some serious vulnerabilities that are developing. But overall, I really like the direction that Bitcoin is going right now. I do think that this is a bullish sign, and so far we've seen a shift in the short term. Now I think the bulls are in control in the short term. Now I also want to talk really quickly here about the Bitcoin and miners reserve. So we talked about the miners reserve previously, the number of Bitcoin in miners wallets, and we've actually seen a large increase in the number of Bitcoin and miners wallets, especially over the past couple of days. We've seen a very nice move up here, and this again shows the fact that miners are not selling. They are holding and increasing their position as well. Okay, so miners are not selling. This is part of the reason why the Bitcoin price has been able to rally so strongly here. You can see it just go up with the price of the Bitcoin, including showing that basically they weren't selling. They were just waiting for the price to move up, and then it reached a peak, and then maybe they sold off just a little bit. But overall, they've been collecting Bitcoin in their wallets. They have not been selling for the most part en masse. And if this trend continues, then we could see some additional move to the upside as well without having that selling pressure. Now, also, we can take a look at the Puell multiple, which gives us an idea of miner profitability. And we're at currently a strong position for the miner profitability. And we're about the same kind of level that we've been at for most of the year, March until now. But this kind of shows you that miners aren't in any danger right now of being unprofitable. Okay, so we've seen here, if it comes down to this green level, that's bad news for miners. If it comes up here into this red level, that's good news for miners. It's kind of the opposite. But right now, we're kind of in the middle, so miners are still profitable and they're still able to run their rigs. In fact, if you look at the hash rate, we can see here that the hash rate continues to be extremely high. It's not at all-time high just yet, but it's still very close. If we zoom out, we can see just how insane this move up here is in the hash rate. Just massive move up. More miners are being brought online. Okay, the Bitcoin economy is flourishing right now, even though there's a lot of FUD, there's a lot of fear and uncertainty and doubt in the market. The underlying blockchain continues to be strong. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our Bitcoin options. All right, so the reason why I want to talk about Bitcoin options is Bitcoin options, we have significant expiry on the 27th of October. This is usually something that we see at the end of the month. We normally have a large expiration of Bitcoin options. Right now, we're looking at about almost 2 billion or so, according to Deribit. We have about 2 billion or so of Bitcoin options, mostly calls, okay, and about a little over half as much on puts. All right, so we have our max pain price at 27,500, which according to max pain theory, we're going to have the options traders try to push Bitcoin's price at about that level. Now that's much below where we currently are, and these options expiry are going to happen or this week, I should say, this upcoming week. So it's entirely possible we will see some selling pressure on the Bitcoin price as these traders try to drive it near this max pain price of 27,500. Speaking of events for the week, we can see that there are significant earnings going on this week. In fact, we can see here that we have major tech companies that are reporting on Tuesday, like Microsoft and Alphabet. Wednesday, we have Meta. Thursday, we have Amazon. Okay, so we have major tech earnings this week, and we can expect significant volatility in not only the traditional markets, but also with Bitcoin. That being said, I will say that Bitcoin lately has not really been tracking the NASDAQ, so it's entirely possible that the effects this week won't be as great as they once were. Okay, so just be aware that we have serious earnings on deck this week, and we could see some massive volatility swings in the crypto markets. Next, I want to talk about the major events going on this week for the economic reports. And so Monday, not much. Tuesday, not much. Wednesday, not much. But Thursday, GDP numbers for the U.S. Okay, the Q3 GDP numbers, very important when this comes out. We try to pay attention to what these numbers are going to be. The forecast right now is 4.5% growth, which is pretty insane. But 4.5% growth, if we come in under that number, we could have significant selling in the market. However, if we beat that number, then we could see some additional buying pressure into the market. Very interesting to see what this is and how the market will respond to it. We also have initial jobless claims as well, and that's expecting to come in about 206,000 or so. So we're going to watch that and see how the jobs market has been holding up over the last period here. And then we're also going to go ahead and go into Friday, in which you have the PCE index, okay? PCE index, the personal consumption expenditures. This is the Fed's preferred index for looking at inflation, okay? So we're looking at right now here is the forecast of the core PCE being 0.3%, or if you look at it year over year, at about 3.7%, okay? So again, we need the Fed to stop raising rates, and we need this core PCE number to come in at or lower than this forecast of about 3.7% year over year, okay? All right, so that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about today's video and hash rate. If you guys are interested in hearing more about the Bitcoin options, for instance, leave a comment below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.